Corporate America, gig economy CEOs, and every influencer pushing multiple income streams swear that side hustles are the key to financial freedom. They lie. They lie. Side hustles are supposed to be extra money, not the only way that you can survive. And anytime that you talk about this, there's always that one guy that crawls out of the woodwork, right? If he's not pushing crypto, he's preaching, we're a gig economy, work harder. Okay, thanks, Chad. I didn't realize that being broke was just a personal effort issue. You cracked the code, buddy. Somebody get this man a TED Talk. Tell that to the single parent working 2 jobs and still debating whether or not they can afford to turn the heat on tonight. Tell that to me, someone who grinds 12 plus hours a day, and I'm still being told that I just need to want it more and envision success. Stay positive, Sheila. You've got this. Let me ask you something. If hard work was really the answer, why are the hardest working people the ones that can never get ahead? And that's the scam, isn't it? The myth that if you hustle hard enough, you'll make it. That if you just stack up enough side gigs, passive income streams, and grind until your eyeballs vibrate, you'll somehow unlock financial freedom. But the people selling this dream, they're not grinding. They're just watching you do it. There's one massive trap built into this whole system, and if you don't recognize it, it's going to keep you stuck. And worse, keep you exploited. And we're going to get to that in just a little bit. So they keep feeding us the same lie, right? Work hard, stay committed, grind long enough, and eventually you'll get ahead. Like success is some kind of punch card, and if you clock in enough hours, they're finally going to let you into that VIP section of financial stability. Here's the problem. Working harder doesn't mean you'll make it. It just means that you're going to be on a treadmill that someone else is controlling, and they keep cranking up the speed. This isn't a hard work issue. It's a math issue. Hustling harder just makes someone else richer. More work just means less time that you actually get to live your life. If working hard actually worked, nobody would be struggling. Hard work doesn't guarantee success anymore. You know what it does guarantee? That you'll be exhausted, that you'll trade your time, your energy, your sanity, just to keep your head above water, that you'll miss your kids growing up, your parents getting older, your own damn life, because you're too busy working to survive. You'll miss birthdays, holidays, time with people you love, all so that you can clock in for just another shift that still won't cover your bills. And yet they keep selling us the same lie. Just work harder and it'll all pay off. They know it's a lie. You know it's a lie. And if we all stopped blaming ourselves and started demanding actual change, this whole system would collapse under the weight of its own bullshit. I have fallen for this scam too. I started driving for Uber and Lyft with so much hope. At first I liked it. It was flexible. It seemed to work for me. Now, mind you, I have spent years in tech, about 30 years, right? Good salary, good stability, the whole deal. Then life just kind of flipped the table upside down. I lost my job. My bills started stacking up and all that stability I had vanished overnight. So like many others, I turned to side gigs, thinking that they could be a lifeline for me. Now, when I started this, right, I signed up for everything. DoorDash, Grubhub, Instacart, Shipt, Amazon Flex. You name it, I applied for it. And you know what happened? A freaking waiting list. A waiting list. I've been on that list for 4 months. And that's what really gets to me, is that there are so many people resorting to gig work to survive, that there's a waiting list to do it. It's not for extra money anymore. It's not to save up for something that's fun. It's just to afford basic life. We weren't supposed to have millions of people lining up for the chance to burn themselves out in an economy that pretends this is freedom. There is nothing normal about this, nothing okay about it, and yet here we are, waiting in line for the right to be underpaid. So I've seen the game on both sides, right? Corporate America and gig economy. And honestly, gig work is more of a rigged, predatory mess than corporate America ever was. I live in Colorado, and recently they enacted pay transparency laws for rideshare. And now I can actually see what the rider paid, what the rideshare company took, and what I got left with. And let me tell you, seeing the numbers spelled out like that, it's not just eye-opening, it's kind of sickening. I am earning less than half of what the rider pays. Less than half. Now, I'm not going to get into specifics, but if you really want to understand what's going on behind the scenes of rideshare, check out the Rideshare guy on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description. This is not like a plug or anything. They don't even know I exist. They're just freaking legit. Whenever I talk about this rideshare stuff, I get so many questions, and these guys go deeper than I ever could. If you really want to see how bad it's gotten, just open up the driver app and look at the map. When I'm sitting there waiting for a ride request, I can actually see how many other drivers are around me. And sometimes it's completely packed. Just a sea of little car icons, all just sitting there, just like me, just waiting. Now, it's one thing to know that the gig economy is oversaturated. It's another to watch it in real time, to see just how many people are out there hoping for a ride, a delivery, or a chance just to make enough to keep going. It's actually quite ridiculous. And I full on know that there's going to be some "I told you so" moments in the comments, right? When I first started driving for Uber and Lyft and making those videos, there were lots and lots of people in the comments saying that, "Sheila, this is a scam," right? You'll see. And I heard you, but you just don't know until you're actually there, right? I didn't really know until I saw it with my own eyes, felt it with my own body. Not until I watched the numbers in real time and realized just how much was being skimmed off the top. But what else can I do? Right now, nothing. Right now, I ride share for peanuts. I honestly don't have a lot of other options. I've tried. I've been trying for over a year. And I'm super pissed. This wasn't some accident. They know exactly what they're doing. Rideshare companies didn't accidentally underpay drivers. This was never about freedom. It was about shifting all the risk onto us while they take all the profits. And side hustles, they're just the perfect cover story to keep us blaming ourselves instead of questioning why one job doesn't pay enough in the first place. So why are we all still buying into this? What's really keeping us trapped in this endless cycle? Again, hustle culture didn't just happen, right? Corporations built it. Instead of paying fair wages, they convinced us to monetize our free time and call it opportunity. We just keep hearing over and over again, you need multiple income streams to survive. Yeah, so first of all, how freaking screwed up is that, okay? And they make it sound empowering, right? Like the only thing standing between you and success is your willingness to hustle harder. They called it financial freedom. They told us that we were being our own boss, and they made it seem like we were taking control of our future. Just put in the extra hours, honey, sacrifice that free time and push through the exhaustion, and eventually you'll hit that magical point where you're financially free. Except that never happens. Well, at least for me, and I'm sure thousands of others, okay? Now, sure, some people do make this work, right? Some people do. Some people turn this side hustle into full-time income, and they're incredibly successful. They hit that rare sweet spot where the grind is actually paying off. And that's great for them. That is great. I love that journey for them. But those stories, they're the outliers. They are far and few between. And they're used like lottery winners, right? Held up as proof that if they did it, you can do it too. They sell the dream, but they don't mention that for every one success story, there are thousands of people still grinding just as hard, but nothing to show for it but exhaustion. This grind doesn't just take your energy, your time, and your sanity. It takes your peace of mind. Even when you're not working, the guilt eats at you. You know, I'll be sitting at home, finally relaxing with my husband after a really long day, and there's this voice in my head that starts whispering, you know, you should be out driving, you should be out making money. Why are you just sitting here? Every second you're not working, you're falling behind. Ugh. It doesn't matter how exhausted I am. It doesn't matter that I've already pushed myself past my limit. There's always this pressure, like any moment spent resting is a moment that's being wasted. And that's the real scam of hustle culture. It doesn't just demand your time. It convinces you that you owe it, that any second not spent grinding is a second that you'll regret, that financial stability is always just one more gig, one more shift, one more drive, and one more sacrifice away. But it's a lie. There's no finish line, no moment where you've hustled enough, worked enough, been enough to finally stop and breathe. Because the second you slow down, the fear kicks in. This isn't just a job problem, it's a life problem. It gets in your head. It isolates you. It makes you feel like rest is a luxury that you can't afford. And that's what really gets me. It's not just the grind itself, it's the way I expect myself to grind even harder, right? If I were really serious about getting financially stable, I would keep going. I'd push harder. I'd ignore the time it takes away from my family, the exhaustion, the burnout, because that's what it takes, right? I need to hustle harder and sacrifice more. It'll be worth it in the end, won't it? I'll get there, won't I? I mean, that's what it takes, right? If not, the alternative means that no matter what I do, it'll never be enough. And I think that that's probably the reality. Hustle culture doesn't just drain your time and energy, it isolates you. When every spare moment has to be monetized, what's the first thing to go? Friendships, relationships, free time, everything that isn't making you money. Because when survival depends on how much you can work, the first thing to go is everything that isn't work. We act like loneliness is some kind of personal failure, like people just need to try harder to make friends, right? But it's deeper than that. Everyone is too exhausted to socialize, too broke to go out, and too busy trying to make ends meet to even have the time or the energy for anything outside of survival. And that's exactly how corporations want it. Hustle culture isn't just about keeping people working, it's about keeping them isolated so that they don't have the time or support to question why things are like this in the first place. And this is where it gets even worse because there's something about this culture that traps you in the cycle, right? Something that makes it harder and harder to stop, even when you know it's breaking you. At some point, we have to stop and ask, what exactly are we working toward? Because if grinding this hard isn't leading to financial stability, then what's the point? And that's the part that we're never supposed to question because once you see the scam for what it is, you can't hustle your way out of it. You can only call it what it is. Absolute and complete exploitation. And look, I know that my perspective might be different. I had a really nice salary. My life reflected that salary. My cost of living was different. So now, am I trying to replace that exact income with rideshare? No. Am I trying to find my new baseline? Yeah. Will rideshare get me there? Not a chance. Not a chance in all the land. For some people, maybe this works. Maybe their side hustle actually does give them stability. And if that's the case, awesome. But that's not my reality. And I know I'm not alone. And if all of this pisses you off, good. It should. That means you're paying attention because this isn't just hustle culture or grind mindset. This is survival being turned into a business model. If you think this is just about overwork, burnout, and sacrifice, you're missing the bigger picture. The real problem is just how much of our livelihoods are being outsourced, stolen, and manipulated. If you're ready to dive into how this system is rigged against us and how we can start pushing back, watch this video next. I talk in depth about what happens when jobs, industries, and control are handed over to the lowest bidder. The more we call it out, the harder it is for them to pretend that this is normal.